Without any lowering of the curtain, the scene changes to the lawyer's office. The gate has now become the gate in an office railing stretching across the stage. The doorkeeper's lodge is a recess for the lawyer's desk, the lime tree leafless, a coat and hat stand. The announcement board is covered with the proclamations and court decrees, and the clover door is a document cupboard. The lawyer in frock coat and white tie is sitting on the left inside the railing of the gate, at this high desk covered with papers. His appearance bears witness to an unspeakable suffering. His face is chalk white, furrowed and purple-shadowed. He is hideous. His face mirrors all the crime and vice with which, through his profession, he has been involved. Of his 2 clerks, one has only one arm, the other a single eye. The people who had gathered to witness the opening of the door are now clients waiting to see the lawyer, and look as if they have always been there. The daughter, wearing the shawl, and the officer are in front. The officer looks curiously at the cupboard door, and from time to time pokes it. The lawyer goes up to the daughter. Lawyer, if you let me have that shawl, my dear, I'll hang it here until the stove is lighted, and then I'll burn it with all its griefs and miseries. Daughter, not yet, my friend. I must let it get quite full first, and I want above all to gather your sufferings up in it. The crimes you have absorbed from others, the vices, the swindles, slanders, libel. My child, your shawl would not be big enough. Look at these walls. Isn't the wallpaper stained as if by every kind of sin? Look at these documents in which I write records of evil. Look at me. Nobody who comes here ever smiles. Nothing but vile looks, barred teeth, clenched fists, and all of them squirt their malice, their envy, their suspicions over me. Look, my hands are black and can never be clean. See how cracked they are and bleeding. I can never wear my clothes for more than a few days because they stink of other people's crimes. Sometimes I have the place fumigated with sulfur, but that doesn't help. I sleep in the next room and dream of nothing but crime. I have a murder case in court now. That's bad enough. But do you know what's worst of all? Separating husbands and wives. Then earth and heaven seem to cry aloud, to cry treason against primal power, the source of good against love. And then, do you know, after reams of paper have been filled with mutual accusations, if some kindly person takes one or other of the couple aside and asks them in a friendly sort of way the simple question, what have you really got against your husband? Or your wife? Then he or she stands speechless. They don't know. Oh, once it was something to do with a salad. Another time about some word. Usually it's about nothing at all, but the suffering. The agony. All this I have to bear. Look at me. Do you think, marked as I am by crime, I can ever win a woman's love? Or that anyone wants to be the friend of a man who has to enforce payment of all the debts of the town? It's a misery to be human. Daughter, human life is pitiable. It is indeed. And what people live on is a mystery to me. They marry with an income of 2,000 crowns when they need 4. They borrow, to be sure, they all borrow, and so scrape along somehow by the skin of their teeth until they die. And the estate is always insolvent. Who has to pay up in the end? Tell me that. He who feeds the birds. Well, if he who feeds the birds would come down to earth and see the plight of the unfortunate children of men, Perhaps he would have some compassion. Human life is pitiable. Yes, that's the truth. To the officer. What do you want? Officer. I only want to ask if Miss Victoria has gone. No, she hasn't. You can rest assured of that. Why do you keep poking my cupboard? Officer. I thought the door was so very like... Church bells ring. Officer. Is there a funeral in town? Lawyer. No. It's graduation. The conferring of the doctor's degrees. I myself am about to receive the degree of Doctor of Law. Perhaps you would like to graduate and receive a laurel wreath. Officer. Why not? It would be a little distraction. Then perhaps we should proceed at once to the solemn rites. But you must go and change. Exit officer. The stage is blacked out and changes to the interior of the church. The barrier now serves as the chancel rail. The announcement board shows the numbers of the hymns. The lime tree hat stand has become a candelabra. The lawyer's desk is the chancellor's lectern, and the clover door leads to the vestry. The chorus from Die Meistersinger are ushers with wands. The dancers carry the laurel wreaths. The rest of the people are the congregation. The new background shows only a gigantic organ with a mirror over the keyboard. Music is heard. At the side stands the 4 deans of the faculties: philosophy, theology, medicine, and law. For a moment there is no movement. Then the ushers come forward to the right. The dancers follow, holding laurel wreaths in their outstretched hands. 3 graduates come in from the left, are crowned in turn by the dancers, and go out on the right. The lawyer advances to receive his wreath. The dancers turn away, refusing to crown him, and go out. The lawyer, greatly agitated, leans against a pillar. Everyone disappears. The lawyer is alone. The daughter enters with a white shawl over her head and shoulders. Daughter. Look, I have washed the shawl. But what are you doing here? Didn't you get your laurels? Lawyer. No. I was discredited. Why? Because you have defended the poor, said a good word for the sinner, eased the burden of the guilty, obtained reprieve for the condemned? Woe to mankind! Men are not angels, but pitiable creatures. Do not judge men harshly. It is my business to plead for them. Daughter, leaning against the organ. Why do they strike their friends in the face? They know no better. Let us enlighten them then. You and I, together. Will you? There can be no enlightenment for them. Oh, that the gods in heaven might hear our woe. It shall reach the throne. Sits at the organ. Do you know what I see in this mirror? The world as it should be. For as it is, it's wrong way up. How did it come to be wrong way up? When the copy was made. Ah, you yourself have said it, the copy. I always felt this must be a poor copy. And when I began to remember its origin, nothing satisfied me. Then they said I was cynical, and had a John Dice die, and so forth. It is a mad world. Consider these 4 faculties. Organized society subsidizes all 4. Theology, the doctrine of divinity, continually attacked and ridiculed by philosophy, claiming wisdom for itself. And medicine, always giving the lie to philosophy and discounting theology as one of the sciences, calling it superstition. And there they sit together on the council, whose function is to teach young men respect for the university. Yes, it's a madhouse. And woe to him who first recovers his senses. The first to discover it are the theologians. For their preliminary studies, they take philosophy, which teaches them that theology is nonsense. And then they learn from theology that philosophy is nonsense. Madness. Then there's law, serving all but its servants. Justice to the just unjust. Right and so often wrong. Thus you have made it, O children of men. Child, come. You shall have a wreath from me. One more fitting. She puts a crown of thorns on his head. Now I will play to you. She sits at the organ and plays a Kyrie. But instead of the organ, voices are heard singing. The last note of each phrase is sustained. Children's voices. Lord, Lord. Women's voices. Be merciful. Deliver us for thy mercy's sake. Save thy children, O Lord, and be not wrathful against us. Be merciful, hear us, have compassion for mortals. Are we so far from thee? Out of the depths we call. Grace, Lord, grace, Lord. Let not the burden be too heavy for thy children. Oh, hear us, hear us. The stage darkens as the daughter rises and approaches the lawyer. By means of lighting, the organ is changed to the wall of a grotto. The sea seeps in between basalt pillars with a harmony of waves and wind. Lawyer. Where are we? Daughter. What do you hear? I hear drops falling. Those are the tears of mankind weeping. What more do you hear? Sighing. A moaning. A wailing. The lamentation of mortals has reached so far. No further. But why this endless lamentation? Is there no joy in life? Yes. The sweetest which is also the bitterest. Love, marriage, and a home. The highest and the lowest. Let me put it to the test. With me? With you. You know the rocks, the stumbling stones. Let us avoid them. I am poor. Does that matter if we love one another? And a little beauty costs nothing. My antipathies may be your sympathies. They can be balanced. Supposing we tire, children will come, bringing ever new interests. You will take me, poor, ugly, despised, discredited? Yes. Let us join our destinies. So be it. The scene changes to a very simple room adjoining the lawyer's office. On the right is a large curtained double bed, close to a window with double panes. On the left, a stove and kitchen utensils. At the back, an open door leads to the office, where a number of poor people can be seen awaiting admission. Kristen, the maid, is pasting strips of paper along the edges of the inner window. The daughter, pale and worn, is at the stove. Kristen. I paste. Daughter. You are shutting out the air. I am suffocating. Now there's only one small crack left. Air, I cannot breathe. I paste. Lawyer from the office. That's right, Kristen. Warmth is precious. Kristen pastes the last crack. Daughter. Oh, it's as if you're gluing up my mouth. Lawyer, coming to the doorway with a document in his hand. Is the child asleep? Yes, at last. Screaming frightens away my clients. Daughter, gently. What can be done about it? Nothing. We must take a bigger flat. We have no money. May I open the window, please? This bad air is choking me. Then the warmth would escape, and we should freeze. It's horrible. Can't we at least scrub the place? You can't scrub. Neither can I, and Kristen must go on pasting. She must paste up the whole house, every crack in floor and walls and ceiling. Exit Kristen, delighted. I was prepared for poverty, not dirt. Poverty is always rather dirty. This is worse than I dreamt. We haven't had the worst. There's still food in the pot. But what food? Cabbage is cheap, nourishing, and good. For those who like cabbage, to me it's repulsive. Why didn't you say so? Because I loved you. Now I must sacrifice my taste for cabbage. Sacrifices must be mutual. Then what shall we eat? Fish? But you hate fish. Oh, this is harder than I believed. You see how hard it is? And the child which should be our bond and blessing is our undoing. Dearest, I am dying in this air, in this room with its backyard view, with babies screaming through endless sleepless hours, and those people out there wailing and quarreling and accusing. Here I can only die. Poor little flower. Without light, without air. And you say there are others worse off? I am one of the envied of the neighborhood. None of it would matter. If only I could have some beauty in our home. I know what you're thinking of. A plant. A heliotrope, to be exact. But that costs as much as 6 quarts of milk or half a bushel of potatoes. I would gladly go without food to have my flower. There is one kind of beauty that costs nothing. Not to have it in his home is sheer torture for a man with any sense of beauty. What is that? If I tell you, you will lose your temper. We agreed never to lose our tempers. We agreed. Yes. All will be well, Agnes, if we can avoid those sharp, hard tones. You know them. No. Not yet. We shall never hear those. Never. If it depends on me. Now tell me. When I come into a house, first I look to see how the curtains are hung. Goes to the window and adjusts the curtain. If they hang like a bit of string or rag, I soon leave. Then I glance at the chairs. If they are in their places, I stay. Puts a chair straight against the wall. Next I look at the candlesticks, If the candles are crooked, then the whole house is askew. Straightens a candle on the bureau. That, you see, my dear, is the beauty which costs nothing. Daughter, bowing her head. Not that sharp tone, Axel. It wasn't sharp. Yes, it was. The devil take it! What kind of language is that? Forgive me, Agnes, but I have suffered as much from your untidiness as you do from the dirt. And I haven't dared straighten things myself because you would have been offended and thought I was reproaching you. It's terribly hard to be married. Harder than anything. I think one has to be an angel. I think one has. I'm beginning to hate you after all this. Alas for us, then. But let us prevent hatred. I promise never to mention untidiness again, although it is a torture to me. And I will eat cabbage, although that is torment to me. And so, life together is a torment. One's pleasure is the other's pain. Human beings are pitiful. You see that now? Yes. But in God's name, let us avoid the rocks, now that we know them so well. Let us do that. We are tolerant, enlightened people. Of course we can make allowances and forgive. Of course we can smile at trifles. Only we can do it. Do you know, I read in the paper this morning. By the way, where is the paper? Daughter, embarrassed. Which paper? Do I take more than one newspaper? Smile. And don't speak so harshly. I lit the fire with your newspaper. The devil you did! Please smile. I burnt it because it mocked what to me is holy. What to me is holy? Ha! Striking his hands together beside himself. I'll smile. I'll smile till my back teeth show. I'll be tolerant and swallow my opinions and say yes to everything and cant and cringe. So you've burnt my paper, have you? Pulls the bed curtains. Very well. No, I'm going to tidy this up until you lose your temper. Agnes, this is quite impossible. Indeed it is. Yet we must stay together. Not for our vows' sake, but for the child's. That's true. For the child's sake. Yes, we must go on. And now I must... Go on. And now I must attend to my clients. Listen to them muttering. They can't wait to tear one another to pieces, to get each other fined and imprisoned. Benighted souls. Enter Kristen with pasting materials. Daughter. Wretched, wretched beings. And all this pasting. She bows her head in dumb despair. Kristen. I paste. The lawyer, standing by the door, nervously fingers the handle. Daughter. Oh, how that handle squeaks. It's as if you were twisting my heartstrings. I twist. Don't. I twist. No, The officer, now middle-aged, takes hold of the handle from inside the office. May I? The officer, letting go of the handle. Certainly. As you have got your degree. Officer, entering. The whole of life is now mine. All paths are open to me. I have set my foot on Parnassus. The laurels are won. Immortality, fame, all are mine. What are you going to live on? Live on? You'll need a roof, surely. And clothes and food. Those are always to be had, as long as there's someone who cares for you. Fancy that now. Fancy that. Paste, Kristen, paste. Until they cannot breathe. Goes out backwards, nodding. I paste, until they cannot breathe. Officer. Will you come now? Daughter. Oh, quickly. But where to? To Fairhaven, where it is summer and the sun is shining. Youth is there, children and flowers, singing and dancing, feasting and merrymaking. Exit Kristen. Daughter. Oh, I would like to go there. Officer. Come! Lawyer, entering. Now I shall return to my first hell. This one was the second. And worst. The sweetest hell is the worst. Look. She's left hairpins all over the floor again. Picks one up. Officer. So he has discovered the hairpins too. 2. Look at this one. There are 2 prongs, but 1 pin. 2 and yet 1. If I straighten it out, it becomes 1 single piece. If I bend it, it is 2, without ceasing to be 1. In other words, the 2 are 1. But if it breaks, if I break it, like this, breaks it in half, then the 2 are 2. He throws away the pieces. Daughter. So much he has seen. But before one can break it, the prongs must diverge. If they converge, it holds. And if they are parallel, they never meet. Then it neither holds nor breaks. The hairpin is the most perfect of all created things. A straight line which is yet 2 parallel lines. A lock that closes when open. Closes open. A plait of hair loosed while bound. Like this door. When I close it, I open the way out. For you. Agnes. Goes out, closing the door. Daughter. And now? The scene changes. The bed with its hangings is transformed into a tent, the stove remaining.